About 70% of African American women are overweight. About 70% of African American single parent female households are poor. The literacy rate in African American communities correlates with those numbers as well. The prison rates of African American males, specifically who go to prison, correlates with those numbers as well. There is an obvious relation between single parent households and the failure of black children in school, the number of crimes that African American children commit, the number of failures and dropouts, etc., etc. I mean, I can go on, but they're all associated and they have an interesting relationship with this single parent household. And this is not to blame black women. You know, a lot of black women get really defensive about it because there's so many households in the African American community that are run by them. We're just looking at numbers, and the numbers just show that, yeah, there are a lot of absent fathers. And perhaps sisters need to choose better kings. Perhaps if we really understood that if 70% of the households are single parent female led, a lot of these young men who grow up to, young boys who grow up to be men that are not pleasing to African American women, they were raised by African American women. And it's sad because these boys they have confused ideas of what a man really is. And so they end up treating their women very much like their fathers treated their mother. And it's a vicious, perpetual cycle, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and everybody wants to point fingers at someone. So how do we fix it? Dr. Umar Ifatunde had an interesting perception on it. He said that black men, if we're out here and we're able, we should take on the responsibility of helping these sisters who are single parents, who have boys who need mentoring, who need raising. The fact of the matter is that there are 4 women, black women, to every 1 black man. So that leaves a lot of women out there who are going to be single. Actually, it's a lot more than which is going to leave a lot of women single in a society that focuses mostly on monogamous relationships and marriage and things of that sort. I believe that men are polygamous by nature, and that's not to say that he's lustful. It's a whole lot of physiological, biological aspects of that I can point to help you understand what I mean by that. One of the things is that men have 300 million sperm, and these hormones cause a man to behave a little differently than a woman who has 1 ovum that's waiting for 1 sperm cell each month. We just behave differently. But that doesn't give a man the excuse to be out here in the streets and sleeping around with every other woman that he sees. A man has to have some control, some self-control. And it takes a real man to teach a young man how to be that way. It takes a real man to teach a man that you cannot be polygamous with every woman. And if you love a woman and she's not with the polygamous thing, you better show respect for her and what she wants and bring balance to your household. I mean, that's a complicated issue. I'll talk more about that later. But these people have been studying us for years. They've been studying us since they arrived on this continent. Because as you know, many of us were already on the continent when they got here. They've done an excellent game of divide and conquer. Many of the indigenous people today don't even recognize that they have black indigenous people in their family. If you've seen the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, many of the indigenous today cohabit and copulate with European Americans who migrated here, and now, because of that, Europeans are claiming that they're the original indigenous. And they're not only claiming it, they're getting the land because they're marrying into Indian or indigenous families and seizing the assets once those real indigenous people, their bloodline dies off. It becomes primarily European. And this is the same problem in African American communities, because you get black people who marry white women and they live in a white neighborhood and their children grow up and marry white people. And same thing that was happening with the indigenous, or is currently happening with the indigenous in this country. And so when your children grow up and they marry white people, eventually you're bred out. Very much like what happened in Argentina after World War II, when Adolf Hitler apparently, rumors' sake, had escaped to Argentina. Many of the Nazis did. Similar thing is going on today with many immigrants or migrants coming from the Ukraine who are Nazis. Many of these new neo-Nazi Mexicans who are coming over too, coming into America. America, don't be surprised if in the future it's the new Nazi Germany. But back to the topic, you got all of these individuals who are coming over here with the same ideas and principles of the Nazis from the past, and we see it gradually affecting us. So there's all types of subversive ideas and plots going on, and people consider them to be conspiracy theories, but the evidence is all over the place with the effeminization of the African-American male. And people like Lil Nas, who are rap stars and things of this sort, and they put them all over, they plaster his images everywhere. Fact of the matter is that the black man and woman have become further and further apart. They're not connecting anymore. Divorce, for example, divorce in the African-American household specifically is 29%. The other categories, I guess, like for Hispanics, is somewhere around 25%. And Native Americans and other groups are somewhere around 28%. But African Americans top it off. And that number is increasing with the number of divorces. Here's some interesting numbers too. In the Patrick Moynihan report, he talked about the undercutting of the black male. We already know that the black male is undercut. Just because my skin is brown and I'm a male, I'm immediately seen as a threat. Hillary Clinton was calling black males super predators. We've been the target of police brutality far more than any other race or any other men in this country, the United States. And this is the fact. This is the facts. Okay? And even though there's all types of propaganda out there to make it look like African-American men are out here killing cops, the numbers of white men who kill cops compared to black men who kill cops is much more different. In fact, there are more white men who kill police officers than there are black men who kill police officers. The other number that's interesting, as I was going to say before, the undercutting of the black man when he does not have a job or whatever the case may be, the society doesn't only socially marginalize him, they economically marginalize him. But there's also an increase of illegitimacy in the African-American household. Here's an example. According to the Center for Equal Opportunity, in 2018, 36% of births in the United States, 39.6% of births in the United States were out of wedlock. African Americans, 69.4% of illegitimate births, meaning children being born out of wedlock. Yet the divorce rate is increasing. But understanding that you're going to have a lot of sisters who are single, and everyone needs love and connection and affection and camaraderie and companionship. When two spirits intertwine, that's all good. It's just that when we start talking about sex and creating families, that's where I draw the line. Because a child, and just like most of us, if you don't have a father in your life, you want to know where he is. If you know where he is, and some of you have so much disdain for your fathers, you may say, I don't give a damn where he is. Whatever it is your trauma is, it doesn't mean that you have to bring that same trauma to your child. Every child wants to know who their mother and their father is. And it behooves anyone who has the power of creation to understand that before you create a child, they're going to have that longing, that need. Very much like the longing and the need that African American women have when they remove a man from the house for whatever reason, or if the man removes himself and that void is there. That's the reason we have the illegitimacy. It's something to think about. Remember, you have two eyes for looking and one for seeing. Act accordingly.